It's Mr. Mulholland again, and we're doing some more Solidworks. And the last time we talked about using the Revolve base tool. Today we're moving slightly on from that, and we're going to be talking about using the Sweep Boss base tool to create a shape similar to this. Now I know this shape is very frightening when you first see it and thinking I'm going to have to make that, but I'm going to walk you through it step by step, and you'll see how easy it is. So just like always, we'll start with our blank SolidWorks screen. What's the first thing we do? We go up and we get a new document, a new part, and we hit OK. What's the next thing we do? We go on check our units, down to the bottom corner, GS, up to the little cog, document properties, units, GS. Perfect. Next thing we always do, we enter our sketch and we choose our plane. This time I'm going to use the top plane. And what do we do when we've done this? Yes, we do our two little lines straight up, looking for the yellow arrow, straight to the side, looking for the yellow box. Okay, so now we have this. What is the first step we need to do? Well, we're making a spring, so the first thing we need to do is we need to decide on our diameter or radius of our spring. So what we use when we're talking about diameters and radius, we tend to use circle tool, don't we? So we'll go to the circle tool, we will click on it, and we'll just draw a nice little circle. Doesn't matter, because we'll sort the size out in a minute. So I want this circle to have a diameter of 10. And how do we do that? Well, like always, smart dimension. We click on our circle and we type in 10. And then we hit the little green tick. So this is what we have now. What we need next is we need to start making our spring shape. Now, there's a special tool for this, and you might think it's in Sketch, but it's not. It's actually in our features. So we click our features and we look for the curves button. See here, so sketch, from sketch we go features and see where it says curve. We click the drop down box and we're looking at helix and spiral. So we click on that and there we go. It starts showing us our outline of our spiral. So we want to make sure it's in height and revolutions. So see this little defined by box, click it, height and revolutions, and I'm going to set my height to be 25 millimeters. So you type it in the height box, you hit enter, and I want my revolutions to be 12. Then you hit the little green tick, and there you go, you have your spiral. You hit spacebar, and we'll just look at it front on to that. So, how do we make our spiral more than just a sketch? How do we make it a 3D object instead of just a drawing? Well, do you remember we were talking about planes before? This is where planes become really important. We want to be able to draw onto the spiral to make it 3D. So, how do we do that? We go up under features and we go to reference and we're going to hit plane. This is going to make a new plane. So we're going to click plane. And what we want to do is we'll clear that first. And what we need to do is we need to decide where we're looking to draw. And the place I'm looking to draw, you can do it on the top or the bottom, but I'm going to do it on the bottom edge of this sketch. So I'm hovering over, and when the little orange dot appears, I'm going to click on that. And when the yellow box comes up, I'm going to make sure it's coincident. This means that this plane is going to be touching that point. And what's the next thing we need to do? We need to choose 2 reference points. This makes sure that the plane has all the information it needs to be positioned. So our second reference, we're going to click it, and we're going to click, see up here, where it says part, we're just going to click on that drop down and we're going to look through the different plane options. And you just need to click them. So I think it's going to be front plane, so I'm going to click front plane first. And it is front plane that I'm looking. And I know that because of the blue box appearing, it shows me where this new plane is going to be placed. And it's going to be placed directly on that little orange dot, and it's going to be placed parallel with the front plane. And what does parallel mean? That means that they're going to run perfectly alongside each other but never touch. So yes, that's what I'm looking. I'm looking at parallel with the front plane and coincident with the first point. So just to show you again, the first thing I clicked was the little dot at the bottom, and the next thing I clicked was my second reference point, which in this case was my front plane. And I know it's right because that little blue box is in the right position for me. When I have my 2 points picked, I click the little green tick. And when we have this done, I just like making the new plane just a little bit bigger. And we've made our new plane now. What we need to do is we need to decide what we're sketching onto it. Now, what we're going to sketch onto it is a little square on this dot, on that dot. We want to put a square on that dot, and what's going to happen is we're going to extrude that square around the spiral. So that'll make more sense in a minute, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to enter the sketch. I'm going to choose this new plane, and what we want to do, the first thing you want to do is you want to click this convert entities button, and I'm going to choose the spiral. And what convert entities does is it takes a shape that could be at the other side of a drawing, it could be at the other side of a part, but what it'll do is it will draw that shape directly onto a new plane or face perfectly. So when I do this, it'll make it from 2D to 3D. So what do you see? Or sorry, from 3D to 2D, I mean. So when I click enter, you see our spiral. This is it, represented in 2D. You can tell that because you look at the side, it's flat. So let's look at this straight on again. Remember, hit spacebar to do that. And what we need to do is we need to draw a box on this line, on this point. So to do that, we're going to pick the rectangle tool, but we're not going to use the corner rectangle this time. We're going to use the center rectangle. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to pick, just see that center point, turn orange when you're on the center. And I'm going to draw a little square. And then I'm going to use Smart Dimension, and we're going to make this line 2 millimeters. So type in 2, hit enter, and we're going to make this line 0.75 millimeters, and we're going to hit enter. And that's our square. Now what this square is the shape that we're going to extrude to become our spring. So if we're going to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to click Features, and you see this new tool, Sweep, Boss, Base. And there's two parts of Sweep, Boss, Base. We have the first part, this is your profile, you call this. And this is the shape that you're going to tell to make 3D, if that makes sense. So we're going to select this little square, and you need to select all the edges of it, and it needs to be a closed entity. That's very important. Do you remember from the last class, a closed entity is a complete loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to click every edge of this square or of this rectangle, and when you have selected the sides, you're going to tick the green tick. And now the second box is highlighted, and this is the path. So this is basically what you want to extrude along. So if we're going to choose the helix, this spiral, so you click that, and you see it to show us our new shape, which is our spring. And what you do is you hit the little green tick, and that's it. So I'm just going to go over that again quickly. Once you have your shape like this, with this little square drawn here, and your helix, or your spiral, whatever you want to call it, what we need to do is we need to go Features, Sweep Boss Base, and we need to choose our profile is what you call this, and that's what you're making 3D. So we click the 4 edges of our rectangle, the green tick, and now what we need to do is we need to choose our path, and this is what it's going to follow. So this is what it's going to extrude along, and then we hit the green tick, and there you go. Simple as that. And I bet you thought earlier, looking at that shape, it was going to be very hard.